The more joy you have, the less you think. The less you think, the more joy you have. It's that simple. The people are just constantly in thought, just like this, just like a slave. You're a puppet. But the ego and your separation is a suffering mechanism. Just because the I thinks it's something doesn't make it actually real. I'm not sure what we're going to talk about just yet. I'm sure something will happen. I guess I could talk about perfection. I do stuff like that all the time. There's no Superman or Superwoman here or anything like that. It's not some mystical, etherical thing. There's a lot of exotica in this space, where the cultural influences of, if you know anything about this space to begin with, or you just hear out of curiosity, or I'm assuming you know something for now. There's a lot of exotica in different cultures that's soaked into this, but really it's very simple. It really is simple. It doesn't mean the attainment of it is simple. That's actually quite complex, but it's only complex because we are so complicated. We have years and years and years and years of training in how to be somebody special. And so it's very simple for me to say, this is very simple. The complexity is in the I, in the you. So to leap from these complexities to this is very rare, so that would imply there might be some inner work to be done, some self-examination, looking inwards, seeing what's going on inside us. So I guess if you looked at it from a Jung perspective, Jungian, it's the shadow work, going in and finding, where am I holding? Because this is a complete let go. It's a complete let go. Whatever is, and it actually is. How can it be otherwise? Just consider that for a moment. Right now is. All of the, if you look like, if you can imagine a pond with a different unusual shaped outside and you drop a pebble in it, the wave goes out and it hits all these different angles and it comes back, and in some places it arises where all the waves meet together, and you can look at that as now. So you can only be here now based on your history. That's your conditioning. I'm not speaking Chinese here. Why? I wasn't raised in China. It's that simple. So I don't need to be exotic. I can just be as I am. And we can all be as we are. And we will all be a different representation of that. That being the prior to your first name, to me, to I, the separation. So the I, if you simplify it down, it's a series of ideas and inner contracts or agreements that we've made and been given over a long period of time that makes us me, but really it's a series of events and a series of memories enacting. There's no you in it. It's just patterns. And if I can leapfrog a little bit here, I can say that there never has been anybody here ever, and never will be, separate from that we are. It's not possible. It can only be imagined. Imagined. Just because the I thinks it's something doesn't make it actually real. Well, we think we're somebody doesn't mean that becomes true now. I could think I'm a giraffe. It doesn't make it true. You can think you're separate. It doesn't make it true. And just because you're completely convinced by the thoughts doesn't make it any truer. Just because you've never checked your thoughts, I'm not saying this is your life, I'm saying hypothetically, if you've never gone along and checked your thoughts and wondered where they came from, or if they're even you, then you're firmly locked in the I, in the separation, which is illusion. And so a lot of this work is undoing that and finding out, why have I put this together? How did this get put together? And understanding it. And luckily, the end result of this factual inner science, it is very scientific, because it's absolutely fact-based. If you keep following, the rabbit down the rabbit hole, so to speak, everybody ends up at the same conclusion. Any culture, the mystics, the Sufi mystics, the Buddhists, the Christian mystics, etc., etc., etc. There's always the mainstream version, then there's these original sort of knowing parts of these religions that are actually accurate. And they find the same thing. They say it in a different language. They explain it differently. They look differently when they do it. They have robes and different dress outfits. But it's the same thing they're talking about, because it's a factual discovery. It's not a separation imagination of this God, that God. It's just follow the facts back. And the beautiful thing about the end of that trail is the end of separation, or the ego, or the I, and behind it is something incredibly beautiful. Thankfully, because if that wasn't there, geez, yeah, that is the primordial, that is prior to all of the I and the me and the suffering that comes with it. I, me is suffering. You may or may not understand that. But the ego and your separation is a suffering mechanism. And if you deny that, then go and have a good close look at your life, very closely, and see how much of it has been in pure joy and bliss and surrender and let go. And how much of it has been working to those peaks that disappear again. How much of your life has been dedicated to just finding those highs. Go and have a good look at that. Just see if life is fun or not. It's hard work. But as I say, everybody's going outwards to grab, to feel good. And this is, you go inwards and you start looking and exploring inwards, and there's something magical there. And you find it on your own. I can point and show you and help you, but it's your inner discovery. You don't need a priest, an intermediary. You just need some guidance quite often to get to what you are. Why? Again, where I started is because you're complicated. I was complicated. I suffered a lot. And I got sick of suffering, and so I decided to do something about it. It wasn't some mystical Indian story of wandering along and the angel came down and you popped open and went and hid in a cave. It was hard work. And those stories are extremely rare. They get extremely well advertised, but for most folks that find what they are, which is the end of the folks, work at it pretty sincerely. They're very dedicated. But that doesn't mean that's going to be everybody's goal or end point. Just having a better life, isn't that enough? Just being free from incessant thoughts, the drama of life, the problems, just to get freer from that, isn't that enough? And everything you do is a step in that direction, and none of it is wasted, because you're healing. You're healing your inners. You're healing your insides. And if you know this work well enough, you'll know the outside is your inside. So if you're suffering in the world, you've got to go inwards to fix it. It's not the world's fault. It's your mirror, which then brings you to complete ownership. You have to own your life 100%. You can't go around blaming people. You have to own it. If your life is miserable, well, go check, what are your thoughts like? How do you think? If your life is joyous, what are your thoughts like? Probably very little thoughts, the more joy you have, the less you think. The less you think, the more joy you have. It's that simple. So that if that's the truth, which it is the truth experientially and is written for thousands of years by other people who have done this work sincerely, the less your mind operates, the happier you are. Why do you think your dog's so happy? But we don't have to be as dumb as a dog. We can have a human intellect that actually gets brighter. You get much smarter when you stop thinking, believe it or not. Everything, the exact opposite of everything you've been taught from a little child. Exact opposite. So, Norpeers from the East, or from a culture that gets it right now, they're in the middle of a 9-day celebration about the ego and its problems and what it does to humanity, and they have a 9-day type of celebration. You can say it better than me. About realizing the ego's here and the thoughts and the problems, and they have celebrations to help cleanse and undo all that. They understand. We grow up in neurotic, we're mine, me, compete, win. You're the king, be number one. Whereas these guys are every year celebrating the fact and working on the fact that we're entangled and we're struggling, and that we need to put attention onto this. And so they have more peace. They may not have our wealth, but they have peace. Well, not lately, of course, but they've been burning things lately. But the people that were running the show weren't very nice. They were doing bad things. And so we're a product of our environment. If you're from a noisy culture, you're going to be noisy. You're going to be proud of noise. You're going to be proud of gusto. Because that's the measurement. That's the winner. If you're from a silent society, silence is going to be beautiful, and you're going to be more joyous. We're a product of our environment. It's very simple. And this, the Buddha said it. His first statement after waking up to a public audience was, "Life is suffering." His first parcel of delivery was, "Life is suffering." But there's a way out, he also said. This was revelation back then. This was like a revelation, and there's a way out. And he provided the Eightfold Path, the Noble Truths, which is what I was just speaking about. And he built a roadmap out. Well, that's one way of doing it. There's other ways. There's Hindu ways, there's Sufi ways, there's yogic ways. There's multiple ways. So this was 2,500 plus years ago. He was saying life was suffering. And that hasn't changed. Humanity is still suffering a lot. That's what the wars are. That's what the fighting is. That's what the unhappiness is. That's why everyone's buying lots of stuff to feel good again. Running around trying to feel good. I don't want to go anywhere. I feel good. I feel great. Everything's fine. Because this is where everything is. Your home is here. Your home's not over there. Your peace isn't over there. It never will be. It never has been. And the rules haven't changed. The algorithm hasn't changed. And so if this is the first time you hear this, there's going to be a lot of movement inside and uncomfortableness and, oh, I don't know about this. But if you've spent any time looking at the subject, you'll understand what I'm talking about a little bit. And there's a deep peace, that an energy field there that actually everything emanates from, what has been called the Buddha field. And there's an energy field there that everything emanates from, and prior to all movement is this field. So the way the Toltecs described it is, the Toltecs have described it is, you have the active side of affinity, which is this, and you have the inactive side. So between you and I, you cannot see the air, but it's there, right? It's the same. And so it's understanding that behind everything is a deep, deep, beautiful thing, and that's what we are. It's not a separate God, it's not somewhere else, it's not something independent of you, it's what you are at the deepest levels. You don't need a priest, you don't need a pope. At some point you don't need anybody. You just see. And it's just a deep, deep rest there, a deep peace. And it's not reliant on anything from the outside world. Okay. So that all being said, it's very simple, but it's hard to summarize it in a short period of time. So hopefully some of it was understandable. If it's the first time you've come across this sort of stuff. But does anyone have any questions or anything like that? When you say at the moment, what do you mean? What's going on in the world at the moment? Well, it depends how you want to look at it. The statistics say this is some of the most peaceful times the Earth's ever been in. Maybe it's just a very rough place. Yeah. There's hardly been any years of peace in recorded human history. Because humans are full of unchecked thoughts, unchecked discomforts, full of pride, full of arrogance, afraid. And so they fight within, they fight without. Until that's solved, this is going to be how it is. So the only solution to that problem is if everybody en masse went inwards with all they could, everything they could inwards, and meditated and went quiet, the wars would fall over very quickly. It's the only way out of this problem. But who knows? Is that do I even know, or do you even know if this is not how it's supposed to be here? Do we have a utopic goal or idea of what this place is supposed to be? Everyone walks around on little clouds or something. Is that how it's supposed to be? I don't know. Or is this what this is supposed to be? But you know what I mean? We don't know. But of course we would all like peace. But if we don't like peace, we need to go inward. That's where the peace is. So a lot of people can get fired up and go and fight this and fight that and fight that. But when you fight something, you resist it. You build more of it. That's pretty well proven, I think. Because things happen on a different level. So some people have a real difficulty understanding that there's more than just materialistic world, you know. Some people really struggle with that sort of stuff. It's really hard for them to get, and it's upsetting. Yeah, but I know you've been around Osho and different teachers. You understand what I'm talking about. But things are happening at just different levels. This is just almost like the mirror of it. There's dimensions of life, and this is just the grossest of it. You know. So we have to, by going inwards and meditating, we head back into these deeper essences that drive everything. And so if that happens, everything softens. If we lose our sense of separate identification, we're hurting ourselves. When you go to war, you're hurting yourself. It's the right hand stabbing the left. It makes no sense. It's absolutely illogical. Does that make sense? So, People have to come back in. But will that happen in my lifetime? Probably not. Will it happen? Well, maybe this is what this is just to know that. Maybe it triggers something in somebody. You don't have to be at war with the world. The war's already on. As I said all before, all these waves colliding, they happen in cultures too. And usually they're cultures that have something in their scriptures about them being better than everybody else. They're the ones that fight the most. And they don't realise. You go into a bardo, you come back again, the wheel of samsara. So you're on one side of the fence fighting, you die, you come back on the other side of the fence. You fight, you die, you come back on the other side of the fence. People don't understand this. It's the same core. It's the same, it's all one thing. But this is almost impossible for the mind to understand. So then it's in the softening of the mind and the slowing down of the mind that it becomes direct experience instead of an idea somebody's speaking about. You actually, you start to feel this, you start to know this. And the mind can soften more now because it can trust, oh, this is better, this is nicer. So then your direct experience tells you, oh, this is the right way to go. Before that, it's just words, no, it's just an idea of somebody. Some stranger in a red shirt babbling on. So if you don't meditate or you don't have a quietening practice or you have some way of calming your system down, these words are just going to be bouncing off a tank. Weird, strange, obscure. Because you have no reference point. But even hearing the words may encourage somebody to go, okay, maybe I should try and quiet my mind. Maybe it's true. Let me just check. Let me check for myself. I'll forget about everybody else and what they're saying, but let's just see if that's true or not. And if it's not, then what have you lost? Some time? Has anybody else got a question? Well, there's three main vehicles, really, and then everything comes within them. So it's meditation, mindfulness, so just being really aware as you move through the world. Okay, that's and just you noticing these things, yeah, and silently noticing these things. It's not I am touching a leaf now. There's a silent seeing, yeah? And then the third one would be contemplation, which is, okay, why am I doing this? Why am I angry? Why am I all kerfuffled and moving? Why can't I stay still? Why do I have to react in a certain way? And getting to know that. So it's like contemplation, isn't it? Inward investigation, which I'm actually a big fan of. Yeah, and meditation is very hard for a lot of people, especially from the West, because we're trained for noise. We're very noisy mentally, so it's very hard for us to just go, oh, I'm going to meditate now, right? So contemplation works really well, and so does, active meditations work really well until we can get to a certain point where meditation becomes possible. And that could be, yoga and different things like this. So there are the three main vehicles, really, whatever genre or even country you're in doing this, or background. It's meditation, mindfulness, which is movement in the world, and then contemplation, really. So as Socrates said a long time ago, know thyself. So you can be silent, but it might take a long time to know yourself, whereas with contemplation, you might get to know yourself a lot quicker. You're going out to meet it. You're going out to meet yourself. Does it make sense? And its nuances and its problems and its dogmas, it's secret belief systems that it hasn't even found yet, which we all have. People have no idea how many beliefs they have that they haven't checked. It's astounding. And in that, not seeing that, there's an assumption of me being this way and the world being this way. So in the contemplation and the meditation, you can start to see, this is quite different to what reality is. So this is not spiritual work, really, as far as I'm concerned. This is reality work. The end game is reality. Not some spiritual, etheric moon dance. It's as it is. And it feels great. Yeah. Now, I'm high as a kite all the time, but I've learnt to hide it. Because people lock you up or something. But that's the beauty of our inner. Deep inside us is this chemistry that's gorgeous. Absolutely stunning. And that's you, everybody. That's what I'm trying to point at. It's your inner chemistry. You can be miserable and closed and unhappy, but that's up to you. That's all here. That's you. I'll leave this room and I'll be content for the rest of my life. You can leave suffering if you like. It's okay. It's your business. But I've got some information that might be helpful if you're getting sick of that. Because I've done it. Do you know what I mean? And I suffered a lot. I really did. So they're the three main ways. I'm not sure if that helped, but then there's subgenres of that, of course, and lots of different ways. And some are far more powerful than others, and they're going to vary per person. What works really well for you might not work really well for him or for her. So then it's like your personal preference, and that's okay. And if you do things you like as opposed to what others like, you're probably going to stick with it longer. And this really is a consistency game over time. So it's best to be trying to do it in a way you like to do it. Otherwise you'll give up. It's like going on a diet or something, isn't it? It's like, I don't like it. You know what I mean? But if you enjoy eating certain foods and they're healthy for you, that's the way to go, isn't it? Because you enjoy it. It's like that. You'll be able to keep doing it. And the doing is until there's no doing. It's a not doing then, and there's nothing. So I've elaborated a bit, but I'd advise if people aren't good meditators and their mind, first you have to become aware your mind's noisy. Most people think they're quiet, but their minds are. It takes a while to even see that. It takes a certain level of recognition to see the noise. So once you see that, and it'll be probably be a bit shocking. You've probably seen it already, I'm guessing. And so, oh my goodness. And then it's really finding the way that works for you to heal that and empty that. But the fascinating thing about thoughts is nobody ever considers where they come from and where they go to. There's just this assumption that they're me. And that is a huge assumption. You've got no evidence of where they come from. Science doesn't even know where they're stored. They think they do, but it's still a mystery to science. Yet almost everybody on the planet assumes their thoughts are them. You could be thinking, this guy's great, or this guy sucks. What did I even come here for? Did I pay for this? This is ridiculous. That's not you either. That's just stuff within your system expressing itself. Do you know what I mean? And you might not like it, that's fine, but the assumption that this is you is a massive mistake. Because if your mind can go silent and not think anymore, then what was that? And the history is littered with silent people. Their minds are silent and they function in the world very well, very, very well. Because their brain isn't caught up in clutter of noise. They now see silently. Like the animals do, they can see all around them, can't they? You know, even a domesticated dog will see somebody over there from the corner of its eye. Do you know what I mean? Whereas humans won't. They're busy. You see? So one of the big telltales that you've made ground is your peripheral vision appears. You start seeing peripheral vision instead of looking through a telescope everywhere. It becomes peripheral vision. It's one of the big sort of key indicators of getting really close. Does that make sense? And that locks in. So there's lots of telltales of depth you're achieving, like attainments. Mm. Make sense? But the real dipstick, or the real measuring stick, is how much silence you have in a day, really. It's not what Gitas you know, what schools you've been in, who you've sat with. You know, I know lots of people have sat with really good teachers for a decade or two and they still have no idea what's going on. Do you know what I mean? It doesn't matter. It really is how much silence do you have in a day. Right? How much silence do you honestly have in a day? That's going to tell you, that's sort of where you're at. It's that simple. You know? And it's not about measuring, but it is nice to have an idea of where you're at, because the mind can delude us so easily and tell us, and it did it to me many, many times, like, oh, I'm so advanced now. And yes, it's the mind again. I don't even know where it's coming from, but I believed it. Then at some point, I think it was from Ramana Maharshi, the Indian from last century or 19th century. And he says, yeah, it's how much silence do you experience? That's what you check with. Oh. Ooh, ouch. Uh-oh. Back to the drawing board. Didn't like it, but I thought, well, he knows what he's talking about. I better listen to him. The people are just constantly in thought, just like this, just like a slave. You're a puppet. You don't know you're a puppet. You don't even know it. It's the height of ignorance. It's sleepwalking. No, you're sleepwalking. If you have thoughts and you're not aware you have thoughts, you're a sleepwalker. You're actually a living sleep. You're in a living sleep, and that's why you're unhappy. Because it hurts to walk around asleep. You bump into things all the time. You metaphorically constantly grazing and hurting yourself and others. You're talking about wars, that's how it happens. Unconsciousness. Well, I'm not here to make everyone feel all warm and fuzzy. I'm here to tell you the bloody truth. In a very short window of time. I don't have much time here. But if you're sensitive, you'll be feeling warm and fuzzy. Those that know. And it's no one's fault. It's just the system educates us in a certain way. We learn to do that way, and the teachers are unconscious, the society's unconscious, the politicians are unconscious. How the hell are we not going to be that way, to think that thinking is normal and to have unchecked thoughts is normal? It's just exactly what we were taught to do. Nobody's told us this. Nobody had told me. I never heard anything like this till I was like 24 or 25. The first thing I heard was, you can actually adjust how your mind works and you can improve yourself. What? I didn't know that. That's how stupid I was. These people are doing really well. Nobody told me that. So just, it's people here that have all different levels of understanding, so I'm trying to speak so everybody can hear something. And so some of it's going to sound primitive to some of it's going to sound bizarre to others. it is what it is. And just if there's one thing you can remember, is that a silent mind is where you're going to find peace, joy, rest, happiness. That's your home. And a silent, heart-based lifestyle is where you're going to find the deepest peace and happiness and joy and contentment and awareness. It's actually awareness. That's what awareness is. You understand? You can, I mean, has anyone not worked it out yet with the modern social media that the billionaires aren't happy either? You know, they can have anything they want. Is that not obvious to everybody yet? You used to be able to hide that, but it's just out there now. They can distract themselves with pleasures, but it doesn't mean they're still seeking peace. They're still seeking freedom. They have everything. You're struggling to get something. They already have everything and it's not there. Where is it? I'm telling you where it is. Listen. Use your intelligence. Save yourself decades of struggle. I did all that. Save yourself a lot of time if you like. I still don't know where they're coming from. I just choose not to be a slave to them. I have ideas, I have theories, but they're unprovable, so I'll leave it at that. Right? What the point is even if you knew that answer, how would it help you feel happier and freer and know who you are? It would just be another piece of information for the data bank. Do you understand? Like, it's nice to know things and it's curiosity, but it doesn't solve anything. What you need to know is you don't know where they come from. And then they pass and you don't know where they go. Yet we all claim they're ours. If they're ours, here's a simple test. You're your thoughts, you're your mind. What's your next thought? You should know. You should know. Because it's yours, right? You should know. Do you know? Then if they're not yours, I know my dog. It's my dog. But I don't know my next thought. But I have many. But do you understand what I mean or not? Does that make sense or not? You would know your next thought if they were yours, because you're in charge, right? So then, if you're not that, what are you? That's the question, isn't it? What am I? What actually am I? If I don't know my next thought, I'm not that, then what am I? That's the question. Very uncomfortable question. Especially if we believe we're because the mind's got all these ideas of what you are. It's put something together. But as I say, you don't know where the thoughts come from. So something's put them together. Is it you? So I see it like a puppet on a string. If you have unchecked thoughts, following. Very important. Very important. I mean, I'm being pretty straight with my words, but it's actually true what I'm saying. And this is the ruthlessness today. Oh, the dog's got to medicate my dog. She just had surgery. Reminder. But yeah, it's just these were the sorts of things that hit me hard and made a difference. So I try not to hold back too much, because when I realised these things, that's when I really started to put sincere effort in. Right? I thought, oh, I don't want to live falsely. I've already lived falsely, but I've had some windows of peace and happiness and pure love and joy. Yeah, we all do. We all do. But my point is, what is this other thing that's interfering in that? And I don't know where it comes from, so I don't know where it goes, yet I'm suffering from it. Shouldn't I be investigating that and trying to undo that? Do you know what I mean? Otherwise, the more that's involved, the more unconscious I am, the more asleep I am, the less I'm living. But that's, I have an engineer's mind. I'm an engineer, so these are just logical progressions for me. Does it make sense? It's functioning or it's not. Things are working or they're not. But just that simple thing I've shown you there, if you don't know your next thought and that's not you, that's either going to stimulate something in you or it's not. Like as in, okay, wow. Or not, you know. And if not, okay, enjoy. If it's something, well, enjoy that too. Find out what's going on. And that's why people meditate and they do mindfulness and they self-inquire, because they understand that the quieter they get, the more peaceful they get, the better their life becomes. It's fairly simple. It's also confronting, yeah, isn't it? Because we start to reflect, oh, how long have I been doing that? Oh, wow. Yes. I see what you mean. Yeah. I mean, yeah, you can have very negative dialogue so that you can switch to positive, right?
Rewiring and retraining
yeah.
the brain to think.
Yeah, if you're interested in going all the way, then you can use it as a stepping stone. So negative thoughts just really self-harming, right? Towards yourself and others. Okay. So yeah, sure. If you can't get the mind to quieten, you can switch it to much more positive viewpoints, right? That's absolutely fine. But we have to understand the ultimate goal is no mind, right? But as a stepping stone, fine. That's what self-help is, right? But self-help's a funny word because it's an I improving itself. So okay, the I can improve itself or its dialogue can improve, but it's a stepping stone to quietening the mind. Does that make sense?
Releases the grip on the attachment.
Well, yeah, and just the weight the negative thinking brings a lot of weight as opposed to positive thinking or karma thinking. It just doesn't, it has a weight to it. It has a Tamas to it. In Hindu culture, they call it Tamas. And everything it has a heavy Tamas, which is a weight. So just getting into positive thoughts, we're heading more towards Rajas, just liveliness. And from Rajas we can go to Sattva, which is peace. So they say there's three energies, the three gunas, if you want to simplify things. So most people are living in Tamas, their minds are constantly thinking, it creates this heavy weight they carry and makes them miserable. Right? So get to Rajas, and learn to live in Rajas, aliveness, which is, changing your thought patterns, quietening your thoughts. Yeah? And then from there you can go to Sattva, which is peace. But you can't go from Tamas to Sattva. Yeah, there's a stepping stone there. This is very old knowledge. It's thousands of years old. Hasn't changed. We're sitting here in 2025. There's people sitting around in 2500 BC. Prior, that's when they started remembering, or someone wrote it down. It could be 10, 12, 15,000 years old. Hasn't changed. Humans are still the same. Same problem. Same answer. Same three energies. There's somebody sitting here saying the same thing all that time ago in a different language. From direct experience. Yeah. So yeah, yeah, but with the calibration that, yeah, okay, I'm pulling myself from the shadows to a more light state. Mm. Or you can simply go over it, which was not what I did. Actually, I did do it a little bit. I correct that now, I do remember. It's like mantras, right? If your mind's just obsessively negative, just going to a mantra that warms your heart, I'm okay, you're okay, everything's okay, whatever it is, whatever just works, the magic little phrase. You just repeat over and over, and it's better to have this loving or kind okayness than letting the mind just spew vomit through your system, through your skull. You know? So better to have that mantric noise or a mantra song than that. So it's another way, right? Make sense? I'm sorry for the graphic images there, but you know, it's what it's like though. Make sense? So that's an easy way to do it. When I do Vipassana retreats, I'd do that because I had a noisy mind, and so it was hard for me to get into the zone. And somebody said that to me, says, "Oh, they don't say it, but just do a mantra first. Do a few minutes of that, then go into their process, and then go in." And it worked. Just to get the mind sort of single tracked, you know. Just leave it. It's going to be noisy. At least be single tracked. You know, single pointed. So whatever works, really, from my perspective, whatever works. Yeah, and that's going to be different for you and everyone else. But as you get more and more sensitive, one of those things you start to notice is, even in all the noise, you can be in a busy city, or you can be anywhere, and you just start to notice something behind you, like it's very, very always there and just soft and gentle, and there's just this, something's there. It's very strange. But it's very nice and sweet and beautiful, but you start to notice that, and it also shows up in silence, like there's noise, but there's a silence behind the noise that's always there. No matter how noisy it is, this silence is there. And that silence gets louder and louder and louder the deeper you go.